Oh, let me see. Can you tell I'm practicing? Good afternoon, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I am Teresa Holmes, a better version of George Hidalgo, our president, who's out of town today. I'm your president-elect, and I'm glad to be and have you all here. And an additional warm welcome to a fellow Rotarian from Belize who is attending our meeting virtually today. All right, let's start out with some opening music. Elaine Mishler will be virtual, playing My Country 'Tis of Thee. And that will be followed by Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, performed by Jeff and Angela Bartell. Let's listen to the recorded music and sing in your heart if you so desire. Raindrops keep falling on my head, just like the Gotham's feet are too late for his bed. Nothing seems to fit those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. So I just did me some talking to the sun, and I said I didn't like the way he got things done, sleeping on the job. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. But there's one thing I know, the blues they sent to beat me won't defeat me. It won't be long till happiness steps up to greet me. Raindrops keep falling on my head, and then as I bleed, my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying is not for me, 'cause I'm never gonna stop the rain from raining, because I'm free. Nothing worrying me. Our thanks to Jeff, Elaine, and Angela for that opening music. And also our thanks to Neil Feuerbach for his excellent work in editing the videos for our musicians today. I don't know about you, I won't complain, but I will explain. I have on boots and I saw snow when I left the house today. The sprinter day is, All right, announcements. Oh, before announcements, our Rotary International Campaign Thank You segment. Charles McLymans, who chaired our Rotary International Foundation campaign last spring. Now that we're finally back in person, Charles is here with us to provide us with a summary from last year's campaign results. Charles?
Thank you, President-elect Teresa. And good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, those here and those at home or from your office, wherever you are. It's good to see everybody. So last spring, we held our 4th annual fund drive for the Rotary International Foundation. And this is one of the priorities of giving that our members have. It's not to be confused with our local foundation that raises funds in the fall for community grant dollars. But we have some highlights from the Rotary International Foundation Fund Drive last spring. We raised a total of $54,340 for the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International during the campaign. This means we raised more than the required $100 per member in order to qualify for matching dollars from Rotary District and Rotary International. So really, we get a 3-for-1 return on those dollars, which is great. And during a year of pandemic, the fact that we exceeded our goal really means a lot. It means everybody participated, dug deep. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Some more highlights. 191 members made a gift to the campaign, and 72 members achieved a Paul Harris Fellow level, with 6 of them being new Paul Harris Fellows. 56% of our membership are now Paul Harris Fellows, which is also really great. And for those of you who may be new to Rotary, when you give to the Rotary International Foundation at least $1,000, you become a Paul Harris Fellow, named after the founder of Rotary, Paul Harris. And then you get a neat pin like this. You get a Paul Harris pin for every $1,000 that you give to the Rotary International Foundation. So we'd love to see that participation as well. The dollars that go to the Rotary International Foundation help to support Rotary's many worthy international projects across the globe. And it helps areas that are currently affected by the pandemic, those hit by a natural disaster, or by having schools and other buildings rebuilt. Women and men are taught skills in order to make a sustainable living, and children and adults receive much needed medical care. A great first-hand example of the type of project funded by your gifts to the Rotary International Foundation is our club's Change Her Story project in Ghana that was funded over the past several years. And a new focus area is the environment, and we thank member Karen Hendrick-Hans and her husband Larry for those efforts in starting this important focus area. At your tables today, we have a handout of the list of members who contributed to the campaign. It also includes members who achieved the Paul Harris Fellow status during the 2020 campaign. We sincerely thank all members who made a gift to the campaign last year, and I'm sure you're all thinking, when can I give to the next campaign? Well, it's beginning very soon, and Mary Donahue will be up here on May 5th to kick off the campaign and tell you all about it. So thanks again for your continued generosity.
Thank you, Charles. 56% of our club is a Paul Harris Fellow. That's exciting. We have over 400 members in our organization right now. And I'm really looking forward to a time when together we'll see our world come together for basically taking action and creating lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. More about that in my real year at the podium. Announcements. As you know, we have a new organizational structure, and our official 5 team leaders have now been approved by the board, as have 22 of the 25 chair-elects. So I encourage you to go out to the members-only section of our website so that you can see who those new leaders in our organization are. I have 2 quick reminders. Our Community Projects Committee is inviting our club members to join them for a volunteer event at the River Food Pantry on May 7th and 8th. See the newsletter for more details and contact the Rotary office for sign up. as we continue to plan our in-person meetings, I wanted to remind members that you should use the link in the Friday's email from the office if you plan to attend our Wednesday luncheon. You must reserve in order to attend. That's the only pretty much must, I think. We're going to continue this pre-registration process indefinitely, so please remember to use that link and to register by Tuesday at noon if you plan to attend the meeting in person. Birthdays. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements our Rotary mission. We also encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation, rounded up to $100 for our club's Synergy Scholarship Fund. Are you ready? I am. April 18th, Christine Euclid, who shares this message. Birthdays are a special occasion to be thankful for the blessing of life, especially this year. I would agree. April 21st, Chuck Dorgan. April 22nd, Frank Byrne. April 22nd, new member Kyle Nundorf. April 23rd, Nino Amato, who shares this quote from Lois Bujold. The dead cannot cry out for justice. It's a duty of the living to do so for them. April 24th, Denny Carey. April 24th, Christian Overland. Thanks to our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. Please join me in wishing them happy birthday, and Jeff and Angela Bartell will play and sing happy birthday. Happy birthday, Rotarians. And members in the news that will appear in the newsletter in case you want to I'm highlighting them right now, but Tara Graves was interviewed in the In Business magazine as our Professional of the Week. That was in Business magazine on April 6th. The tree planting. Before we move to today's program, we're going to hear from our very own Jim Christensen, who is a member of our Community Projects Committee. Appropriate for this week, we are celebrating Earth Day. And Jim is going to tell us about our club's tree planting project. Jim?
Thanks, Teresa. Our club has nearly 500 members, and we're one of the largest in the international organization. A goal of the international a few years ago was to plant a tree for every member of the club. And we've accepted that challenge. As we celebrate Earth Day this year and begin to emerge from the pandemic, we're renewing that pledge. We had planned to do this over several years. We've been working for 3 years. This is our 4th year. And I'll provide some of the numbers later that shows how we're doing at this point. To accomplish our goal, we partnered with Urban Tree Alliance to provide us with the expertise on where trees are needed, what trees we need to plant, how to plant the trees, and how to create programs to maintain them so that they become a sustainable resource for Madison and for the globe. I don't know if any of you have I know several of you, now that I look out in the audience, have been a part of this, so you do know when we've done these projects over the last several years, the person there from the Urban Tree Alliance actually does a demonstration, works with us so we have a clear understanding. And in addition to that, they're the ones that work with community schools to determine the number of trees that are needed. One of the specific problems they're addressing is all the damage that's been done to ash trees. But in addition to that, there are many general needs too, just because our urban canopy is far less than what it should be. Each campus was reviewed, and a map has actually been drawn that indicates where trees need to be planted. The Alliance also has the equipment, the resources, and the expertise that we need in order to be successful with the tree planting projects that we've done. They've also made another partnership with Madison Community Development Authority to assist them with tree planting at their facilities around the city. And the last couple of years, we've done projects at those facilities too. Just a point of information, for every tree that we plant, the net cooling effect is equivalent to cooling a 10-room house for a day. Think about that. So we've recruited members from our club, from the Green Project, especially, and also the high school affiliate, the Interact Group, and also the Rotary Group, as we've done these projects over the years. And I learned when I contacted my resource that last year in 2020, even though we weren't able to do planting because of the pandemic, the Urban Tree Alliance did. So they planted 124 trees last year. And now that many of us have been vaccinated, we will have opportunities for Rotarians to contribute again this year with plantings that are being scheduled, and somebody more will be doing in the fall. I had a quick conversation with my contact Jeremy this morning, and he tells me they have 30 potential projects that could be done between May and November. So there are going to be some opportunities, so stay tuned. As of the end of 2020, we had planted 348 trees. So with the 130 they're talking about, that will take us to roughly 480, which is just about our membership. So we're going to be recruiting members to help with this effort throughout the year, and we hope you can join us and help us celebrate Earth Day. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. All right, now on to today's program, which is appropriately scheduled as we celebrate Earth Day tomorrow. We'd like to thank Karen Kendrick-Hands for arranging our speaker today. As many of you know, Karen is co-founder of the Rotary International Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. Say that 5 times fast. And is director of the group's communications. She is also a member of our own club's Going Green Fellowship Group, and she had the honor of being Rotary International's first observer delegate to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Talks in Poland in 2018. She received our club's International Service Award last year as our club's way of thanking her for her leadership efforts. What some of you may not know is that Karen was a leader in the effort of having environment become the 7th area of focus of the Rotary International Foundation last year. There'll be a kickoff, I believe, with that in DEI in July 1st. And last night, Karen was so graciously able to present at the District 6250, which is our district's convention on ESRAG. This is an outstanding accomplishment, and we appreciate Karen's tireless efforts for her perseverance on ESRAG. ESRAG, not ARAG, ESRAG. All right, well, thank you, Karen, and I will now call her to the podium to introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you for that kind introduction. It's kind of exciting to have someone recap the work we've been doing for 8 years. I wanted to congratulate, I know Jim Christensen's had a big role. I worked with Maria Alvarez Stroud early on, and I know many other people have made our tree planting project a reality. And I just wanted to share with you, it's taken us longer because we've been planting bigger trees that have a better survival chance. And when you plant a tree, time is money. So we've bought time, and we have a big club. It's just taken us a bit longer. My board of directors at SRAG would be unhappy if I didn't tell everybody that we now have 1,200 members in 73 countries around the world, representing 290 of Rotary's 530 districts. But at the end of Earth Week, I'd love us to have another 416 members, because I'd like everyone in the club to join. And so would Larry Hands, my long-suffering husband and treasurer of SRAG. And now I'd like to introduce today's speaker, who has grown to be a good friend of SRAG. Elizabeth Bagley is the director of Drawdown Learn at Project Drawdown, and she's going to share with you the Drawdown Framework for climate solutions and provide examples from around the world, drawn many times from Rotary projects. SRAG has an MOU with them, and the structure of Project Drawdown informs the projects that we do through SRAG, and we are hoping that something today will inspire you in our club to take on one of these projects, because Larry and I can't do it alone. Elizabeth holds joint PhD degrees in environment and resources and educational psychology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where she studied how video games can encourage systems thinking about complex environmental topics. She earned joint MS degrees in conservation, biology, and sustainable development, and educational psychology, and bachelor of science degrees in zoology and biological aspects of conservation. Elizabeth will appear today through the magic of pre-recorded video, and she currently does her work for Project Drawdown, thanks to Zoom, from Sitka, Alaska. Thanks so much for having her.
Hey, Madison, Wisconsin. It is so great to be with you today. Thanks so much for the introduction, and thanks for the welcome to present to your club. My name is Elizabeth Bagley, and I am located in Sitka, Alaska. That's what you're seeing here in this incredible photo, but that's not where I've always been. I actually grew up here on this sheep farm in western Wisconsin. So I grew up just outside of Spring Valley, close to Menominee, for those of you who are familiar with western Wisconsin. And this is a place that really shaped how I see the world. And I grew up holding baby goats and lambs and really understanding how nature and humans interact and how we can work together to make our system stronger and really work together to make sure that we're resilient in the face of changes. Now, I spent a lot of time growing up going to the Boundary Waters, and Aldo Leopold, who some of you may be familiar with, a great Wisconsin treasure, said these words that really stick with me today. He said that a thing is right when it tends to preserve the beauty, stability, and integrity of a community. It is wrong when it tends otherwise. And Aldo Leopold's words stick with me, and they stick with me when I think about these complex systems that we find ourselves in as humans on this incredible planet at this incredible moment in history, figuring out how do we, as the people lucky enough to be alive at this moment in time, how do we work to preserve the beauty, the stability, and the integrity of our communities? I love Madison so much, and I'm so grateful that all of you are stepping up in your community to preserve that beauty, stability, and integrity. Thank you. So when I was a student for many, many years at the University of Wisconsin, you might have seen me here. You might have seen me playing trumpet. I was lucky enough to be able to play the 2 years that we went back-to-back Rose Bowl back in the Ron Dane days, for those of you who are football fans. but I left this place. I was in the marching band for a couple of years and loved working as a community, working as a team to solve problems and to do really great things. But I wanted to explore other parts of the world. So I was fortunate enough to study abroad. And I studied in Kenya. I studied with the Minnesota Studies in International Development. And when I was in Kenya, I got some incredible insights about how people and the planet might thrive together. And that brought me to think about the different ways that all of us show up in the world and think about things like climate change and global warming. So what I'd love for you to think about right now is I'd love for you to think about what comes to mind when you think about climate change and global warming. Now, this is a question that was actually asked of 14,000 people around the world. And when those 14,000 people were asked this question, 44% of people said that they think about the outcomes of climate change, things like changing weather, melting ice caps, more severe storms, the things that we're seeing, that we're feeling on our planet today. 18% of people said that they think about the causes of climate change, things like the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas. And here, everybody, here's where I'm going to lean in a little bit more and let you know that only 3% of people, only 3% of those 14,000 people around the world said that they think about solutions when they think about climate change and global warming. Now, this, everybody, this is a real opportunity. This is an opportunity to start a conversation about climate solutions in our homes, in our communities, in our Rotary clubs, so that we can start to put those solutions into place, so that we can preserve the stability and the integrity of the communities that we care about so much. So my hope is that after today's conversation, solutions are going to be one of the first things that come to mind when you think about climate change. But you might be wondering, well, what are the solutions? What are they? Well, thankfully, that's what we think a lot about at Project Drawdown. That's the organization I work for. We are the world's leading resource for climate solutions. So we focus solely on solutions. In 2017, we published a book called Drawdown that some of you may have seen. We recently, last year, came out with an update to that book. It's a free download. It's called the Drawdown Review. It's available in English, in Spanish, and in French on our website, which is drawdown.org. Now, I keep saying that word drawdown. You might be wondering, what in the world is that word? Well, everybody, drawdown comes from a scientific term. So the term drawdown means this point in time. That blue dot on the screen is the future point in time when the heat trapping gases in our atmosphere, that's what that red Keeling curve is showing on the screen. When those heat trapping gases in the atmosphere stop climbing and start to steadily decline. Now that point, that moment of drawdown is a crucial turning point for life on Earth. And it's a point that we need to reach as quickly, as safely, and as equitably as possible. But you might be wondering, well, how do we get there? Well, great question. We know. And we're going to start first with the climate equation. So let's imagine that this gray rectangle is all of the heat trapping gases that humans put into the atmosphere year over year. So that's the atmosphere that has all those heat trapping gases. The first part of that equation is figuring out, how are they getting there in the first place? What are the sources? Well, here they are. We've got 6 main sources of those heat trapping gases. We know that about a quarter come from the ways we use and produce electricity. We know, and these are global numbers, by the way. It looks different in Dane County, but these are the global numbers. About 24% from food, agriculture, and land use, 21% from industry, 14% from transportation, 6% from buildings, and 10% are other energy-related emissions. Now, this is not the end of the story. That's how those heat-trapping gases get into the atmosphere, but thankfully, we've got nature, and nature does a great job of actually taking a number of those heat trapping gases out of the atmosphere. That's photosynthesis, right? So our land sinks, our trees, the incredible trees that you all planted as part of your commitment to planting 500 trees, those trees are sequestering carbon. They are, through photosynthesis, they are land sinks. That's what we call them in science vernacular. So about 24% of those heat trapping gases are removed from the atmosphere. through land sinks and about 17% through our coastal and ocean sinks. However, that still leaves 59% of those heat trapping gases back in the atmosphere. And that, everybody, that is what's causing climate change. That is what's creating that thick heat trapping blanket around our planet. And that's what we need to fix. That's how we need to figure out how to get to drawdown. Now, thankfully, we can take this equation and we can flip it on its head and turn it into our solutions. So this is our drawdown framework for climate solutions. You'll notice that this top row actually is real similar to what we just talked about in terms of sources. So today, when I talk about this framework for climate solutions, I'm going to mention 3 S's. All right, the first S is sources. We need to reduce the sources of those heat trapping gases. So we need to make sure we find solutions related to electricity, to food, agriculture, and land use, to industry, transportation, and buildings. That's our suite of solutions related to sources. I just put a lot of S's in there. Our second S is our sinks. We need to support and enhance the sinks of carbon dioxide that are already found in nature. And our third S is society. We need to help society achieve broad transformation. So here, everybody, ta-da, these are the 3 interconnected areas for action that we need to pursue globally, simultaneously, and with determination: sources, sinks, and society. So today, I want to provide you with an overview of climate solutions that we have today, not climate solutions that are going to take 5, 10, 15 years to get to scale, but solutions we know work today. And these solutions help us reach drawdown and help us begin to come back into balance with the planet's living systems. Now, these solutions are tools of possibility in the face of what's often a seemingly impossible challenge. And most of you here today, I am so grateful, have already stepped up. I mean, Earth Day, everybody, that was the brainchild of Gaylord Nelson, a fabulous Wisconsinite. So much important environmental work has come out of Wisconsin, and so much comes specifically out of Madison. And I'm so grateful for the leadership that you show in that space. Now, sometimes it can be hard to talk about climate, and we might shy away from that. And I'm going to encourage you as Rotarians to really think about how you might weave talking about climate into the 4-way test. So the 4-way test, as all of you know, is your ethical guidepost. It's a way of knowing how to proceed within our complex world. And the 4-way tests consists of these questions. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So let's start and let's think about the 4-way test through the lens of climate change. So first of all, is it the truth? Unequivocally, yes. And let me show you that, right? We know that since Eunice Foote's work in the 1850s, we've known that digging up and then burning coal, oil, and natural gas produces those heat trapping gases that wrap that extra blanket around our planet. And since then, we've had thousands of studies and millions of data points that have confirmed it's true. We know that those heat trapping gases are increasing, leads to increasing temperatures, and humans are responsible, and we know that the impacts are serious. Now, is it fair to all concerned? Well, the answer to that is absolutely not. We know that the poorest and the most vulnerable among us, those who have done the least to contribute to the problem, those are the people who are the most affected. These include women and children, farmers who are struggling to raise their crops, coastal residents who are losing their land to sea level rise and erosion, and indigenous peoples in the Arctic whose traditions are threatened and whose homes are being displaced by rising sea levels and thawing permafrost. So one thing I want us to think about today is that we know that climate solutions can advance social and economic equity if they're used wisely and well. And we have to pay attention to who decides, who benefits, and how any drawbacks are mitigated. It takes intention, it takes care, and it takes courage to move climate solutions forward in ways that heal rather than deepen systemic injustices. And all of us, as the people who are alive today, we have the opportunity and the obligation to co-create these systems that are safe and equitable, ensuring that both people and the planet can thrive together. Now, Will climate change build goodwill and better friendships? You know what? Absolutely. We know that people and institutions of all kinds in all places have roles to play in this great transformation, and there is a great transformation underway. We know that the solutions that we're talking about today are a synthesis of collective wisdom and collective action that are unfolding around the globe. So as we work together to put climate solutions in place in our communities, we can absolutely build goodwill and create better friendships, protecting our neighbors from the greatest impacts of a changing climate. Now, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Well, let's talk about how beyond just addressing those heat-trapping gases, climate solutions can have what we call co-benefits that contribute to a better, more equitable world. Now, climate solutions are rarely just climate solutions. For example, those that curb air pollution are also health solutions. This is an example of a clean cook stove. Others that protect and restore ecosystems are also biodiversity solutions. And many climate solutions create jobs, they foster resilience to climate impacts like storms and droughts, and they bring lots of other environmental benefits like protecting our water resources. So what do you think about how climate change relates to the four-way test? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? How might you use this framing in your Rotary Club or in your communities? And one thing to remember is that we have these shared values. And by starting with these shared values, we can show our respect for those values and then connect the dots between what we already care about and a changing climate. And we can have productive conversations and start to put these solutions into action in our communities. Now, what can you do? Well, you're already doing some work and some great work at that. So this is a picture you all might recognize from work that you're doing related to tree planting efforts. Thank you so much for stepping up into this space. Now, you might not be fully aware of this, but you are lucky enough to have these two folks as part of your club, Paul Riemann and Karen Kendrick-Hans. I've had the incredible privilege of working with Karen through SRAG, which is the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. And that is a group that was co-created by these leaders in your club. SRAG is a Rotary Action Group that has over 1,200 members in 73 countries and 290 Rotary districts. That is incredible. So for those of you who really want to do want to learn more about work that's happening already through Rotary, please reach out to these folks or check out the SRAG website to learn more about the incredible work that they're already doing. Now, this exciting news will be launching this summer, which is that SRAG and Project Drawdown have worked together. This work is already underway. This is not what's launching this summer, This is an image of the SRAG Drawdown website, where if you want to really learn more about how you can work on climate solutions, this is a great place to start. Because of this, you are going to have more global support in the coming months when supporting the environment becomes a new area of focus, which is so exciting. Now, Rotary has just opened up this tremendous opportunity for itself and the planet by adding the area of focus for the environment. My former professor, Dr. Jonathan Patz, I think he's spoken with you all before, and your club's member, Karen Kendrick-Hans, they both presented to the Rotary Foundation's task force back in February of 2020, and that resulted in a unanimous vote of both the foundation trustees and the Rotary International Board to add protecting the environment to its causes, which is incredible work. Now, so you're going to be able to work at the global scale. You're also, you might want to think about ways that you can continue to work at the local scale, and you have great resources right in your backyard. You all probably know of many organizations in Madison at the Dane County level. You have the Dane County Office of Energy and Climate Change, and they created today's Opportunity for a Better Tomorrow, which is a 2020 climate action plan for Dane County. So if you're interested after today's talk in learning more about what Dane County is doing, I highly recommend checking out this resource, because there are so many solutions that we have in hand today. And so today, I want to share some stories of climate solutions that when we put them into place, they help us move towards drawdown. and they help people in the communities that we care about. So let's start by looking at the electricity sector. Now, this was one of the areas we talked about that we need to reduce the sources of those heat trapping gases. So when we look at electricity, I'm going to show you one of these for all of the different sector areas. What you're looking at are the different solutions related to different areas for action. So for example, with electricity, we know that there's a lot of solutions related to shifting production the production of our electricity away from burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas towards more renewable sources. Now, we also know we need to enhance electricity or enhance efficiency of electricity and improve the system. So those are the three areas for action that we need to focus on when we think about electricity. The individual solutions are within those areas, and the size of the bubbles relates to the size of the impact of avoiding or reducing those greenhouse gas emissions over time. And we have different time scales and different temperature thresholds that are described in much more detail in the drawdown review. Now, these circles are scaled across solutions, and I don't want you to think that bigger is necessarily the best and the only thing we need to think about. Rather, the way we like to think about it is that these solutions are a mosaic of solutions, and we need all of these solutions implemented across the globe in order to reach drawdown. Now, some of these solutions, like offshore wind, might not make sense in Dane County, but there's lots of others, especially methane digesters, that we know might make sense in your community. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about some Rotarians putting some of these solutions into action in other places around the world. So for example, I'd like to introduce you to Nathan Thomas. And in high school, he had the idea to repair computers and ship them to schools in countries that needed them. Now, he quickly learned that shipping is expensive, and then he had a chance to visit Uganda, and he discovered that there were much more immediate concerns than refurbished computers. In Uganda, access to power is expensive, it's dirty, and it's inconsistent if it's available at all. And frequent blackouts interrupt learning. Health centers aren't able to keep vaccines on hand, and students with no access to power, they can't study after the sun sets. So while studying mechanical engineering at the University of Cincinnati, Nathan founded All We Are, which is a nonprofit that brings sustainable energy solutions to communities in Uganda. Not only is this a solution through shifting production to renewables, this solution has incredible co-benefits, right? It decreases energy costs by up to 80%. It improves student performance, and it helps communities thrive. In the past 5 years, Solarize Uganda now has completed 32 LED solar installations at 26 Ugandan schools, 2 medical clinics, and a women's center. And their work was not done alone, right? None of these solutions need to be on any one individual's back. Instead, we can all work to put these into place together. Now, the work was done with the Raleigh Midtown Club, the Rotary Club of Cincinnati, the Rotary Club in Kampala, and District 7710, 9211, and 6670. So if you're inspired and interested, here's Nathan's contact information. He is happy to connect with people, to inspire people to think about ways that we can all leverage climate work in our communities. If we look at the next area for action, this is our food, agriculture, and land use sector. And our solution areas focus on addressing food waste and diets, shifting our agricultural practices, and protecting our ecosystems. Today, I want to talk about tackling food waste. 1/3 of the world's food is never eaten, which means that the land and the resources used and the heat trapping gases emitted in producing that food were completely unnecessary. Imagine Dane County and having 1/3 of that land that is in rich agricultural production completely not used, right? This is a solvable problem, and it's a solvable problem that is often solved through really innovative partnerships. And an example of innovative partnership related to reducing food waste is something called lunch out of landfills. Now, Joe Fredrickson is a Rotarian from Frederick County, Maryland, and he read about Project Drawdown's climate solutions, and he decided he wanted to bring together people in his community to reduce food waste and increase composting. So he brought together the Frederick County's What's Next initiative, the Composting Working Group, the Southern Frederick Rotary Club. He brought together funders, Rotary volunteers, school officials, and most importantly, students to take action. And they sorted food waste, liquids, recyclables in 13 schools. They weighed the waste. This is what you're seeing here to measure impact. And they had the food picked up and composted offsite. Now, Joe and his partners are not slowing down. They want to make sure that this can be scaled and get to as many people as possible. So I invite you to check out their Lunch Out of Landfills toolkit for how you might get started. Now, if you want to learn more about food waste reduction, Rob Anderson is leading a group through SREG. That's the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group we talked about, and he would be happy to connect you with all sorts of resources. Now, the industry sector has solutions that might seem like only solutions that multinational companies can deal with, but you know what? That's actually not true. So we've got solutions focused on using waste, on addressing refrigerants, and improving materials. And one of the solution areas that Rotarians are actually really leaning into is focused on addressing refrigerants. Now, refrigerants live in our refrigerators, in our air conditioners, and unfortunately, when they are released into the atmosphere, they keep doing their job, and their job is to trap heat, right? And we want them to trap heat in refrigerators and air conditioners. We don't want them to do that when they're out in the atmosphere. So, unfortunately, what happens with our refrigerators and our air conditioners is that during use and during disposal, sometimes these refrigerants can leak. And when they leak and go into our atmosphere, they are potent heat trapping gases. Well, here are some Rotarians who are taking on this task in the US. They are going around to different caches or different storages of these refrigerants. They're collecting them and they're sending them to a kiln so that they can be turned into a benign mixture and released into the atmosphere without the drawbacks of all of those heat trapping gases. Now, the person to connect with here is Clary, and Clary is doing incredible work thanks to connections from Karen Kendrick-Han. So I'd encourage you to learn more about the Feral Freon project from the folks at SREG. Continuing to think about reducing sources, I'm still looking for a Rotary-led example here, but there's lots of opportunities related to transportation. When we think about shifting to alternatives, we think about enhancing efficiency and electrifying our vehicles. And one way you might want to think about, there's lots and lots of ways we could do this. One thing to consider is how we make things like bike sharing accessible to everyone. Now, this is an example from Detroit's program where they use the same pickup and drop off location so that people with mobility devices like wheelchairs or walkers can leave their mobility devices there. They can take some of these adaptive bikes out on the trails, and Madison has such an incredible array of trails, and then they can bring it back to that drop-off location and get their mobility device, and they've been able to get out on the trails in some incredible ways. So just some ways to think about equity as we include these climate solutions into our future plans. Now, lots of emissions are the result of ongoing use, and that's where we focus on our buildings, specifically looking at enhancing efficiency, shifting energy sources, and also addressing refrigerants. And Rotarians for a long time have been working on clean cook stoves, which is a powerful action that's a climate solution and a human health solution. It also is improving society. So there's a partnership with the Cook Stove Project, the Yonkers East Yonkers Rotary Club in the United States, and the Lugazi community in Uganda. 100 clean cook stoves were built to create a safe smoke and heat trapping gas-free environment. This initiative will benefit hundreds and hundreds of people in this community. There might be ways for you to think through some of this as you move your work forward. So we looked at the sources, reducing the sources. We also want to look at supporting the sinks of those heat trapping gases. And this is where nature provides us an incredible solution. We know we need to shift agricultural practices, protect and restore ecosystems, use degraded land, and address food waste and diets. And this is where you're already working in this space, just like the Rotary Club of Rosebell on the island of Mauritius. They're launching the 1 Million Trees Project, which is a community-wide project to plant 1 million trees before 2030. Thanks to all of you for working on your tree projects. And I wonder, what do you want to do next? What are some things that you might want to work towards? We also have a number of solutions focused on coastal and ocean sinks. Now, this area is very much expanding, so it looks a little sad right now, but we'll have a lot more information to share in the coming weeks and months. And an example of great work from Rotarians is the Rotaract Club in New Kingston, Jamaica, where they are planting mangrove trees that protect ecosystems and they help support ongoing synthesis and carbon storage. So thanks for that great leadership from the Rotaractors in Jamaica. So we've talked about reducing sources, the first S. We've talked about supporting sinks, the second S. And the third S is supporting society. Now, there's so many ways for us to think about how we might support health and education in particular, because climate solutions and social systems are profoundly connected. And those connections can open up solutions that are often overlooked. Now, we know that high quality voluntary reproductive health care and high quality inclusive education are fundamental human rights. And those are cornerstones of gender equality. In more indirect ways, we know that making strides in health and education can also benefit the climate. One way that your club might start to strengthen a conversation about climate solutions is by participating in one of our partners called the Drawdown Eco Challenge. It was started actually by a Portland Rotarian, and it's a fun and social way to take measurable action on climate. It runs year round, and you can create teams, track your progress, all while putting climate solutions into place. And if you're looking for inspiration, SREG, as I mentioned, has so much inspiration. There's other inspiration for community level projects at this organization, ChangeX, where they have community level projects, everything from a pollinator garden to starting a community compost program. And I want us to remember that all of us have a role to play in implementing climate solutions. If we do all of these things, right? If we reduce the sources by implementing solutions focused on electricity, food, agriculture, and land use, industry, transportation, and buildings, if we support the sinks on land and in the ocean, and if we improve society through healthcare and education, we can actually reach drawdown. Now, I've shared a few climate solution stories with you today. You all in Madison have incredible projects already underway, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing next. I invite you to check out our latest initiative. It's called Climate Solutions 101. It's a 6-unit video series that's filled with the latest need-to-know science and fascinating insights from global leaders in climate policy, research, investment, and beyond. And this video series is really a brain shift toward a brighter climate reality. When you watch it, you might recognize a few folks. Now, Marcos Costa, Jonathan Foley, and Naveen Ramankudi, they all completed their doctorates at UW-Madison. Tracy Holloway is currently a professor at Madison, and Jessica Hellman runs the Institute on the Environment at the University of Minnesota. Some great experts to tap into. So I want to end with this question. What comes to mind when you think of climate change now? I hope that you've been introduced to a range of climate solutions with diverse intervention points across individual, community, organizational, governmental, national, global scales. We know it takes a whole ecosystem of activities and actors to create and accelerate the change and transformation that's required. How might you use the 4-way test to engage your community, to more deeply engage them in climate solutions? What do you want that next step on your climate journey to be? One idea is, do you have an environmental committee within your Rotary Club that can work on implementing climate solutions in Madison? Might you have a conversation with folks at the Dane County Climate Office to think about how there might be some possible partnerships? What do you want to reach towards? The reality of intervening in a complex system is that no one can do it all. And we all have an opening to show up as problem solvers and change agents and contribute in significant ways, even when we feel small. Society has a choice to make about what shape this transformation is going to take. Will we employ the collective courage and determination and diversity of solutions to move the world towards a balance with the planet's living systems, right? Preserving the integrity of the living systems that Aldo Leopold so beautifully wrote about. Will we pursue climate action in ways that heal systemic injustices and foster resilience, well-being, and equality? who do we want to be at this pivotal moment in human history? But, I believe that together we can leverage the solutions that we have in hand today to build a bridge from where we are now to the world that we want for ourselves, for all life, and most importantly, for future generations yet to come. A better path is absolutely still possible, and may we turn that possibility into a reality. Thanks so much, all. Take care.